The two classic Minecraft mushrooms that we know and love today originally came to the game in 2009, being relatively rare to find and spawning in only a handful of places. The game stayed this way for a few years, and mushrooms were sought out for their soup making abilities and as ingredients for fermented spider eyes. Things have been added like the mushroom biome with its beloved mushroom, and the ability to create giant mushrooms with bone meal. When the Dark Forest update came to the game, it made mushrooms a more accessible source, as it became a second biome with naturally spawning giant mushrooms. And that was it for a little while. Red and brown mushrooms were a part of everyday Minecraft life, the only kind available to find in the world. Then came the big Nether update, arguably one of Mojang's biggest and best upgrades to the game. Releasing in 2020, the Nether update brought a new level to the game. Literally, the Nether was now unrecognisable from before, bringing new biomes such as the Basalt Deltas, Warped Forest, Crimson Forest, Soul Sand Valley, you name it. Even an upgrade to the classic barren wasteland that we all knew and loved. Within those biomes, we now had new naturally generating structures and items, such as bastions and fossils, new blocks, new fire, new mobs, new mob mechanics. It was a complete makeover, but of course, this update also brought new mushrooms, as these new forests brought into the game were not made up of trees, but instead giant mushrooms. Saplings being smaller mushrooms that you could find on the floor. Being made of tougher material, however, when it grows you can chop it down and turn it into planks. When designing all of these mushrooms, I researched many different types, and trust me, there are a lot of mushrooms in the world. The red and brown mushrooms were relatively easy, as they already have counterparts in this world. The nether mushrooms is where I had to get my creative brain out of the freezer and warm it up with a little inspiration from many of the mushrooms I had looked at. For the red crimson mushroom, I took heavy inspiration from ink cap mushrooms and the dripping effect that the caps have. Instead of drips, using the red vines you find growing from the trees in the biome as the dripping effect, giving the vines a wavy organic feel coming out of the mushroom lights. Another key design choice for me, as you can see the mushroom lights we know and love growing on the little mushrooms too. I wanted the small lights to be these huge bursting bubbles coming from the mushroom, as I've always personally imagined mushroom lamps to be a rounded, squishy texture, and a lot smaller they wouldn't have formed into those large masses yet, so I just wanted to keep them small and round. For the stem, I envisioned a two-stem twisting effect from this pattern here, and wanted to include the deep green you would find in the other forest to show how connected the nether is, like a big spiderweb. And also for better contrast, because I feel like that a grey would be too matchy and just wash the mushroom out. So this greeny bluey colour would pop better, and I think it does. I didn't want to be too vibrant, but I think the subtle contrast is just perfect. Moving on to our warped forest mushroom, I wanted to keep some similarity to its brown counterpart, but make it puffier, giving it a puffy, glowing underbelly inspired by these mushrooms here, and keeping the overall silhouette thin and flat. For these little glowing mushroom lamps, however, I do want some variation from its red nether counterpart, so instead I want these little lamps coming through in smaller clusters instead of one singular wart at a time. To add some warmth, I mixed some yellow paint into the lighter shades of blue, and instead of going for a plain grey stalk, I wanted to mix a muted purple into the stem so it's not too matchy-matchy, and to show its connection to the rest of the nether, similar to our red mushroom. You can see me trying to race the setting sun at the end here, and thankfully we get it successfully finished in time. Here's our final result for the day, and I hope you all enjoyed watching. I'd love to hear some more of your feedback on these mushrooms today, and I'm sorry my voice has been it sounds a little bit less enthusiastic than usual. I'm currently recovering from a cold. However, I do have one question for you. If you could add anything to Minecraft, what would it be and why? I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye!